I really don't believe that the question of what happens after the war is quite relevant today. I think that what we are talking about is the question of what happens after the LTTE loses control of territory. We generally talk about the war as a 30-year war, starting from around 78, though some people can talk about it as being from even earlier. And yet we all know that territorial control was not there for the most part until 1990 and the departure of the IPKF, when they killed 800 policemen and they captured large swaths of territory. So we are talking about a territorial control that existed for 18 of the 30 years. So then the question is, there still was a conflict which didn't involve territorial control, which spanned a long period, 12-year period. So we have several paths that we could take. One is that if there is decapitation, if there is 70-80% of the leadership removed, as it was the case in the JVP uprising, and as has been pointed out by Rohan Gunaratna, there is a possibility that the LTTE will not be a functioning force. Doesn't mean that the Tamil people's concerns and needs and aspirations will not be represented, but they'll have to be represented by somebody else. Then there is the question of, which is extremely unfortunate, I hope and pray it will not happen, the sort of the Irish scenario, where for decades after the end of the formal conflict in Ireland and the creation of the Irish Republic, the IRA continued to operate as a terrorist organization in Northern Ireland, fueled and funded by Irish expatriates. And from what we know, the expatriate Tamil community is quite capable of encouraging this kind of foolish and ultimately counterproductive, but we will be there at the end, or the receiving end of this counterproductive behavior of sort of futile terrorist activities funded from abroad. So one hopes it doesn't happen. Then there is the third path. The third path is sort of peace with honor, which is that yes, the terrorist activities of the LTTE will be for the most part controlled, and we will actually come up with solutions. And I think really I would phrase it this way, that we need to do more to win the war, rather than to sort of gloat over the end of the LTTE as a territory controlling political force. So what do we have to do to end the war? It's very easy. I think many people have said that we need a political solution, constitutional reforms and so on. That's what the government of India has been asking us to do. But I am quite skeptical. I mean, if I was a Tamil, if somebody came up with some constitutional reforms, I wouldn't believe them, because I'm a Sinhalese. I don't believe that constitutional reforms are of much value when we have made a habit of violating our own constitution. Today we violate the 13th Amendment, we violate the 17th Amendment, we violate Section 122, we violate the principle of financial control by Parliament, and in some cases our Supreme Court has actually gone along with this behavior of routinely violating our own constitution. So what I think is that we have to have trust building. And trust building, I have given an example in my choices column in lbo.lk, where we talk about, how can we use sort of modern technology, equipment and facilities that we didn't have in the old days, which is the ubiquity of the mobile telephone, where a Tamil person, a citizen of Tamil origin, a Tamil speaking citizen, would be able to go to a government office and obtain services in Tamil, which has been one of the absolute fundamental demands of the Tamil political parties from the 40s, without hindrance. And how we do that? There's no other way of doing it other than by using technology, because we simply don't have enough Tamil speaking or bilingual officials in the government today. And I'm not suggesting that we hire half of the population of Jaffna to be government officials. So what do? We have basically a three-way conversation where the existing 1919 Government Information Service could become not only a Government Information Service but a interpretation service with government sanction. So if a Tamil citizen wants to obtain services, they call 1919, which could be a free call on a mobile or even a charged call. And then the 1919 people would call back that government office and say, we will provide interpretation services for this gentleman over the telephone. So we need that kind of activity. And on top of that, we need the political reforms, the constitutional reforms to go with it. Because then we will begin to see that there is genuine efforts to meet the needs and aspirations of Tamil people in this country, that they are to be treated as people of honor. And I think, of course, that we cannot at this moment forget the massive humanitarian tragedy caused by the LTTE holding these people hostage, and the fact that they are caught in the crossfire, and that this is a tragedy that pretty much rivals the tragedy of the tsunami. And I'm pleased that we in the South have begun to mobilize and send supplies and resources in the same way that we did after the tsunami, without considerations of race, political persuasion or religion. And that kindness, I suppose, would be the basis of a lasting political solution that will end the war. Here.